Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Monomyth Diaries, a podcast where ordinary people get to share their hero's journey. I'm Mandy, and I'll be your host. We'll discover powerful insights, critical moments of growth, and much more. Thanks for joining us. We all have a monomyth to share, and someone out there needs to hear it. Welcome back to the Monomyth Diaries, where it's a take what you like and leave the rest podcast. In our last episode, Vianey opened up about her faith-filled childhood, the heartbreaking loss of her first husband, and the grief that transformed her early adulthood. That conversation set the stage for today, where we'll continue her journey into healing, love, and ultimately leadership. We'll discover how her pain became purpose and how sharing her story now brings healing to others. Welcome back to the show, Vianey.
Thank you.
In your last episode, we left off with you sharing about the devastating loss of your dad amongst some other family members, such as your aunt, some grandparents, early on in your life.
Yeah.
And we talked about your journey in faith, meeting your husband, TJ, and then the life-shattering loss of TJ when you were quite young. You were only 37, and your son was 5 months. Is that correct? We were talking about how your life is just spiraling at this point, a lot of depression, and you were teaching at the time, and you had mentioned that you're now going to move to be with your family to help you through this time. Let's start by talking about surrender, right? Because you're going through this dark time, and you had mentioned that you're going to finally just surrender, and life is going to start to look different for you. So let's start there.
Yeah, I had grown tired of my spiral down. I started to get to a point where I was realizing that it was taking me nowhere, and my son's getting older and I'm not quite where I think I should be this far into the grief journey. I mean, I knew it was a journey, but after hitting kind of my next rock bottom, right, where I'm just feeling anxiety, depression, all these things, I just remember one evening kind of like it hitting me. I don't even think there was anything special going on that day. Just like all the emotions kind of were all over the place. And I remember trying to think about what can I do to get out of this? Prayer again. Maybe I try that again. Maybe I try church again. At this point, 3 years after the loss, I'm starting to go back to counseling. Pre-loss, I had been going to sort of marriage counseling along with my husband, TJ. And we had stopped when we had the baby thinking, okay, this is going to be a busy time. And we lost TJ. And so I hadn't gone back. And I thought, you know what? I can't do this alone. I need help. I'm royally failing at this, thinking I can do it on my own. And so I had gone back to counseling, and this particular evening, reflecting over where I was and not being happy with the things. So I'm a single mom, all these things. I just let it out. It was one of those evenings. It felt like there was a storm outside. There probably wasn't, but in my home, I felt like there was a storm, and I'm just crying and I'm just letting it all out. And I'm like, you know what? Let's try prayer. Let's try prayer. And I just get down, I fall down to the floor, and I'm like, here, you have me, right? I'm surrendering. I have nothing else to give. Just like feeling like I'm so at the bottom. I have nothing else like in her to give. I'm done trying. I surrender. Like I felt like I was waving a white flag in surrender, and I was just like, boo-hooing, and I don't even think I had enough words to say. Like, I wish I could have put together the right words to kind of say sorry, but I remember saying, sorry, God. I've been cursing at you. I've been, just doing all the things to run from you, and you haven't left me. And while in the dark times it's hard to see where God was, I saw that God was there, but it wasn't enough. So in this moment, I'm kind of laying it all, and I just start telling God where are the places that I had seen him. Like, you have been there all along, God. I'm sorry. I'm blaming it on you. And in this moment, I'm also taking accountability. I'm just like, you know what, God, I've made a mess of this. I'm putting all this on you, and I've been running. And so kind of owning it and surrendering, just raw. It was ugly. I was crying, dirty cry, snot, like everything. It was one of those nights. And I remember I feel a sense of peace, right? Like almost like the storm, the thunder stops. And I heard God say clearly, like, tell me what you want. And all this time I felt like unheard, right? And like I shouldn't say what I wanted. I just began praying for joy. Like I remember thinking, I will never feel true joy again. So I just began praying for it. God, I just want to feel like a true joy. And I just start explaining what I would want that to feel like. I want to feel like when I laugh that I'm really smiling inside too. I want to feel, and I just start putting words into that and start really thinking more positive about kind of my pain. I really do start to see a shift in my prayers. Like I start feeling like God's right here. I don't know. It felt like he was closer. And I was talking to him like he was closer. And I'm just being very honest with him and not saying quote unquote the right things. You know what you feel like when you start learning to pray, like I have to say it a certain way or I have to pray for certain things. And I just like, I'm praying for what I need or what, where I need God to move in my life. So I start going to church. I just decide to go to a church right down the street. I'm like committed now, like whatever it looks like, wherever this takes us. And so we go into this church and I'm thinking, oh, I'm going to leave Noel in childcare so I can have my moment. And Noel will not go. Like here I am thinking, okay, I surrendered, God, here I go. And I'm trying to have this moment with God, and Noel is not having it. And one of the things that I suffered with a lot during this kind of spiral and pain and grief was the social anxiety. Like I would either leave really fast with my son or just melt down. And so in that moment, I'm feeling the, like here he's not staying in daycare. And I feel like, or the childcare, and everybody's looking at me. And so I'm like, I have to push through. I need this breakthrough. Like I need like to get out of this. And so I see like my motivation starts to shift and I can see myself getting stronger. So I push through one of the church services and the worship, I lose it again. And I just have a continuation of my surrender. But here in this place, I'm just recommitting my life, rededicating my life. This time around, I'm not going to come for the things that I want. I'm not going to come conditionally. I can see myself doing it differently. I did it in a healthy way, like looking for just my relationship with God. So I started to do things like making sure I was healthy, right? I started waking up in the morning and doing my quiet time. Again, not because I was trying to check a box or felt like I had to. It was, I need to know who God is. And so I just noticed the change in me. Really, the Holy Spirit started putting some things on my heart when I would pray, and it just was really different. Like I knew I needed to get out and stop just kind of bottling myself up. So I needed community. I needed to have friends again.
You were isolating.
Yes, I was totally isolating. And the last thing I needed to be doing was that, when I really needed to be around people who could like lift me up and take me out of this dark pit I had fallen into. And so I was like committed to, really being in community. And the crazy thing is this happens in literally COVID. I'm like,
really?
COVID happens and we can't even go to church. At this point, because I had started putting these things into place, and I really would tell myself, pull out of it, and what are you going to learn from this? How am I going to grow? God's growing me. And I knew I was starting to grow, and I had seen the growth and feeling stronger in my confidence, and I could already feel God changing me, that I was like, I'm not going back.
So you're starting to look at all these situations as opportunities to grow.
Yes.
I love that. You're having this big mind shift.
Yes, total mind shift. I think I start seeing myself in a different light. If I can make it through that, keep on my feet, then I can make it through anything. I'm like, that has got to be the worst pain I've ever felt. In all that, I just start confidently like trusting God. Instead of asking for things, I start believing that he wanted good for me. Okay. Instead of believing that he was enjoying seeing me in my pain and darkness, which is why I would curse at him like, oh, you like seeing me in pain because you're not helping me out of it. Now I'm like, oh, I know you want good for me. I know you needed me to grow in this. I can see the light now, but being in that darkness brought me closer to you. And so I start praying about like, God, I know that you promised me that me and Noel were going to be okay. And you've done that, and you've been doing that. And I know that you have somebody for us. And so I'm not in a rush. And I'm like, God, I want your best. So I'm not going to pray for it now. But when you see fit, God, I want you to bring the right guy who's going to be a wonderful partner and teammate in life. And then also just be a wonderful example for Noel to grow up and see just a man of God. And I started getting specific, and I just started believing my prayers. And I started realizing, I think before I kind of prayed in this like skeptic sort of way. I didn't believe the prayers. So how was, God going to believe that that's what I wanted? But I just really really started seeing that now I'm praying. I'm like, I'm believing God. When bad things would happen in those COVID days, I'm like, you have something so much bigger. Like, I'm not even going to be fazed by this. And so like, I could see myself getting stronger and stronger. And so I remember praying like, God, bring this guy, but there's no rush. If I'm 90 when he comes, but what I want is that I feel that joy that I've been praying about, that the true joy that's only found in you, and I want that, right? And so I began to pray and be specific. God, I want a man of God, but I've been praying, and dating guys at church, and you know what, God, I usually like him a little bit edgy. So can you make him edgy, God? And I'm like, be real specific. I want him to be listening to worship music all day. I want him to, I'm really getting specific. And I'm like, and I'm believing that you have this guy for me, God. And so one day in COVID, in the quiet times of being at home, I get a message from somebody I had known in my 20s. I had met somebody and kind of stayed connected through Facebook. In COVID, we're all at home. He sends me a message. And I think it was right around my birthday in April. So he sends me a birthday wish. That birthday wish turns into, oh, I hope you're, quarantining or whatever, like you're having fun, And I was like, you know what? I'm on this journey to really heal from some of the pain I've been, and I'm trying to exercise. So he gives me some exercise tips. And then little by little, he's like, well, let me call you one day. And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, one day maybe you'll call me. But like, I'm not even thinking anything of it. I give him my number and then ring. And I'm like, so I get a FaceTime call and here I am, no makeup, no, it's my son running around. And I'm like, who cares? What I got to lose? And so we end up FaceTiming that day, catching up and just like, kind of quickly realizing like, hey, this could be something. And so we kind of, start talking and I'm like, this guy is a man of God. And I start seeing like one of our first dates on the phone, right? Because we can't in person. He sends me a prayer,
Oh.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, I've never had a guy do that. And he's like doing, these things that I'm not even really ever used to, but I didn't even think that I wanted or needed, right? And like, wow, he just prayed for me and prayed with me. And then it becomes kind of our nightly thing. We pray. And so we make a plan for him. So at the time he's living in Houston, right? Back in Houston, I'm back in the Valley.
So you're about 5 hours from each other.
About 5 hours. By car, but we're also in COVID, so I'm like, I don't even know that we could meet up. And so he tells me that after a few weeks of us just talking, he says, my family had planned a summer trip. Now COVID is kind of messing that up. But he's like, but I'm still thinking about going. Maybe I can go to Padres. It's down in the Valley. He's like, maybe I can come, see you, meet up with you. And I think we're both kind of like, could this be a thing? But we're both kind of hesitant about kind of just jumping in. I told him, I was like, I have a son. I'm not just dating to date or to just have fun. I'm not going to introduce my son to anybody who's not really serious or whatever. And so we kind of had this talk about dating post, kids. And like, it was such a new thing for me. And he was just so supportive and like transparent about everything. And we're just like, okay. And so he goes, well, could I come visit you? And I'm like, okay. And in my mind, I'm like, this is going to be kind of the deciding factor. Like if he comes and there's no chemistry, like, so like the anticipation leading up in our conversations, I could just see, we would talk about God and on our walks with God. And I could already see like he was giving me tips on how to like, at the time I was like, I used to read the Bible, but I kind of fell off of that. I was like, I needed some practical tips on how to do that. And so he would kind of walk alongside me and give me some tips and kind of try this tonight, put on some worship music and, give me some ideas. And so he was kind of helping me grow in that. I'm like, oh man, it would be really sad if when we got in person that it was horrible and no chemistry. And so I began to pray and I'm like, God, what? I need to hear. I'm always the skeptic and I've never been just a decisive person. I'm like, God, make it clear, like clear. I want all the signs. I want all the, make it clear if this is the one, and if it's not, make it clear. So he comes down a month later, he comes down to visit and like immediately I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is like, it's like chemistry and all the things I had thought of and dreamed of and all the things. And I'm like, wow. And we, the night after our first date, I heard God probably just as audibly and as clear as I did the time I was walking with my dog. It was, this is your husband. This is the one I was telling you about.
Oh.
And I'm like, and again, it was so clear. So again, I'm the skeptic of all skeptics. For God, when it's clear, it's clear. And this it's almost like losing TJ. I gain clarity, like so much clarity in my conversations with God. And this was so clear. Again, I grabbed my journal. And I'm like, I have to write this down. And I'm like, I'm not going to tell him, but God told me this is my husband. And I'm just like giddy and I'm all whatever. And I'm like, I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to say anything. And then he tells me that God told him I was his wife. He's like, I don't want to freak you out. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I had the same thing. And I'm like, I promise you, I'm not making this up. Like telling my journal. So in that we're like, oh my gosh, like, could this be like, restoration? Kind of this, could this be like for both of us really? And I'm sharing my part, but in his walk, he's also going through something where, he's wanting God to kind of like be clear. Is this it? And we just kind of make a commitment very shortly after. I mean, a month later, he comes in and proposes, and we make a commitment to God that we're going to do this right. In the right way to honor God. And for me, when I heard from God that was my husband, that I committed also like, hey, I'm going to do this by your lead, not by mine. I've always been selfish and like me, and what I wanted to look like. I'm like, I've already lost all that. Like I had wanted to have more kids. I had wanted this story that I wanted for my life. And at this point, I'm like, there's nothing I can salvage of that. Now, God, I want your story.
So you met Donnell in 2020, in the middle of COVID.
Yep. So a month later, he comes to our first date. A month after that, so now we're in June. So April, May, June, he proposes.
Oh, wow.
In July, we decide, we'll probably get married in a year. So I'll spend this year teaching in the Valley, and, we'll figure this out over the year. We'll figure out where we're going to live or whatever. We have a year to decide. And I kind of start getting in my, like, maybe grief and trauma again. And I just tell him, I'm not at peace with, like, waiting. And I am not a quick jump in. I'm a skeptic, right? But it was so clear from God that I had no, like, doubts. It was weird because like for the first time in my life, the clouds were gone, and I could see clearly, and I had like a clear path of what I want, what I knew the walk God wanted, and what I wanted was like aligning. I felt like I had nothing to lose. I had been rock bottom and I wasn't going there again. So whatever God had for me, I was going to walk. So in June, we get engaged. In July, I decide either we're staying here in the Valley or I'm going to Houston, but we're going to be together. So I come to Houston to get my job. And then in August, I tell him, hey, this is hard. All the pain is kind of like all coming like together. But I'm so clear on what God has told me. I knew September was coming. September was hard because I was the month that I lost my husband and my father. Like they're both like within a few days. So I'm like, I don't want to go through September without you. And I'm like, let's get married. And like, we literally, like, it was like a lunch. I think I texted him. And then he called his pastor friend who was going to marry us. And he was like, okay, let's go to dinner. We knew we couldn't have like a big wedding because it was COVID. And I think even the planning of a wedding and the attention, it was giving me anxiety. So I was like, I want to do what God has put on my heart, so let's just do it. So I get out of work and we call the pastor, and he's like, I have COVID. I can't marry you guys.
The pastor had COVID?
Yes. And we're like, is this a sign? Like, do we? And we're like, no. Donnell was like, no, we're going. So we went to dinner, and we had just me, him, and my son. And we exchanged our vows and exchanged rings that night. And we just kind of did, that was like our wedding. And it was just the most confident and like clear and like just beautiful thing that I've ever done in my life, where I had so much peace about it. It was like the first time in my life I'm so clear on this. Like,
I'm doing the right thing.
I'm doing the right thing. It feels like from that moment, then God just said, okay, you ready?
Yeah, you were obedient.
And you were obedient. He's like, let's go. And from then till now, it has been a whirlwind where God has just been in it. The peace I have because I was kind of like ready and willing and listening versus what I feel like I was doing before. It was just like telling you what I want. And
forcing his will.
Forcing his will. And it was like, okay, God, you got a lot of things planned for us. We've been on a path that has just gone literally like a roller coaster fast. But when God told me that he was the one, I also had a very strong feeling that it wasn't about me. It was like a bigger thing. It was not about like, oh, I get to have this, I don't know, lustful marriage, fairy tale. Yeah. That he was like, oh no, this is bigger than you. This is not about you and this like happiness. This is about what I'm going to do with y'all.
Right. Because you had said in the previous episode, I'm going to use your pain
Yeah.
when you were out for your walk with your
Yep.
dog. He said you're going to be okay, but he was also going to use your pain.
Yep.
And you've envisioned yourself on a stage.
Yeah. And so as soon as we get married, he starts telling me, I've always had this dream of planning a church. And I'm like, sweetie, do you know how the last 4 years I have been cursing at God? I have been running from him. I'm like, that's not me. God would not use me. Like, he's probably very angry at me, you know. And in my talks with Donnell, I'm like, yeah, no, I'm like, I support you, and I love you, and I will be by your side. But yeah, I've spent the last 2 years just wrestling with God. It's probably not who he would use to plant a church, you know? And
was Donnell, okay, so for people who are just tuning in, right? Previously in the first season, Donnell was on the show, who is your husband, right? And so he tells his story, right? So if you want to hear that, go back and listen to it. It'll kind of put some puzzle pieces together, right? Yes. Was he pastoring at this point?
When we were dating, he was at a church, like a community pastor. So he was on staff. But when we got together, you know, I kind of put my foot down because I was like, this is a lot. Like, we're very fast. We got to get to know each other. We're blending a family. So I kind of asked him to take a step back and just kind of focus on us. And I told him, like, whoa, sweetie, with your planning a church, we have to, like, he's a dreamer. And I'm more of the, you know, of course, the skeptic, like I've been saying. And we need to make sure we're solid before we can help others, right? And so we took a few months to make sure we were in a good place. It was a lot of changes so fast. Sure. We took like probably the first year to just get to know each other, really make sure we were solid. And then also with COVID and everything, it was hard to find kind of that church. Like the church where he was on staff at was now virtual. But over this year, now people are starting to go back to church. They're opening up churches. So just in that year that we got to know each other was kind of enough time. Then we kind of was, now let's start exploring our home church together. And we bought a home. It wasn't as close to the church where he was working at. And so I was like, you know, I really feel like we need community. We need to build that community. And it's kind of hard if we're driving 45 minutes away. And so my husband said, you know, where I found Christ, let's go back there, you know, where he was baptized. And so it was very close by. It was in Fulshire. So we're like, okay, let's go check it out. And in that time, of course, I'm trying to make sure we're together. And then we have my son. And so one of the first things is this church kind of welcomed. And like, I think when I picked him up from the child ministry, he's like, Mommy, I learned about Noah. And you know, he's learning a Bible story. And I'm just like, I think this is
the right place.
The right place.
Okay.
And shortly thereafter, of course, they knew my husband, they knew Donnell, and so they're like, start shoulder tapping him to get back on staff. And so kind of quickly, again, he's growing back in ministry. And again, for me, I'm like, yeah, I grew up doing what other people guided me to do. I want this to be about me. So from the start, I always tell them, again, I support you, but I want to make sure it's me also. Like, I'm not just doing it for you.
Yeah, because you said you used to go to church for your dad.
Right.
I got it. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And so I was very strong-willed about this part that I would say, I'm not going to go to church because of you. I'm going to go because of me. I want to be there. That's my testimony. It's my walk with Jesus. And so everything we did, I was like when he was like, oh, let's co-lead at this. I'm like, no, I'm going to pray about it. If God tells me to go there, like I was really very I want it to be genuine. I want it to be not because somebody else saying it. And I didn't want it to be, I'm following my husband's lead. Mm-hmm. And so it's hence why I was like, planning a church, it needs to come from me too. Like, it's not like, you know, a you thing. It's got to be an us. And so once he started getting on staff, I started leading in the kids ministry there. So kind of quickly I could see how together we were serving. And so probably a year into him getting on staff at this new church, we had some friends come to us and say, we've been praying, and God has put on our hearts that we need to tell you guys that you guys need to listen to God about planning a church. Right when they say that, I know that this has come from Donnell's mouth before. So I knew that this is not something like coincidence. Mm-hmm. Like, we had already been talking about it. So when they say that, I immediately feel like I'm the one keeping us from doing this. I've been the skeptic in all this. I've been hesitant. I've been worried about it. And so immediately I go, I think they're right. I think we need to pray about this. And so we end up going to a conference, and our sending church ends up telling us, hey, we're going to take you to this conference. This conference will kind of give you some guidance.
Y'all, so both of you are considering it at this
Yes.
Okay.
So, well, actually, I tell my husband, go ahead and go. And he says, well, at this conference, they want both the husband and wife to go.
Okay.
They want to make sure this is not just a one-sided thing. You're not just going to plant a church on your own and your wife is not on board.
He wants to plant a church, but you feel like you've kept him back from planting a church. Not necessarily that you want to plant it with him. Yeah. You just want to be supportive.
Yes.
I understand.
I'm like, how? Well, and every time my husband gets on stage to preach, I see how he's impacting people every time. People that I never expect to be impacted by his testimony. And I go, gosh, why do I keep blocking that? And so I realize that I'm the one standing in the way, but I don't know what that looks like still. So I promise him that I'm going to pray about it and that I'm going to truly seek to find out for myself, not because he says. So I commit to doing that. And it doesn't come immediately. And we go to this conference and we're listening to a group of pastors. So one right after another, they're coming up and kind of sharing kind of their heart for why they planted a church. And I'm listening and I'm, oh, this is great for you. This is great for you.
The skeptic.
Yeah, the skeptic. And there's one, this next pastor that gets up. So some of these pastors are very dynamic.
Like your husband?
Yeah, like my husband. And so I'm relating them to him. But this next pastor that comes up, he's a lot more quiet and calmer. And so I'm thinking, oh, I'll go to the restroom. Yeah, a little more like me. But I'm like, oh, I'll go to the restroom in this one, right? Like I'll take a break. And I sit for a little while and like something, when he starts, it just grasps my attention, right? And I'm just kind of feeling like, I'm really into what he's saying. And he says, a lot of you may be hesitant to go on this journey. A lot of you have probably been through some things. You've suffered pain and losses. You've been through traumas and all kinds of things. He's like, God's going to use that pain and those traumas and the things that you've grown through to minister to a lot of the people in your church. I just have this moment. It's like a full circle moment where, again, the clouds part. And I'm taken back to that moment where I'm walking my dog and I hear God tell me I'm going to use your pain to help others. And I just start crying, like uncontrollably crying. And I'm like, this is what you were talking about, God. Like, oh my gosh, like I can see it. And I start crying and I'm looking over and I'm thinking, oh, my husband is probably feeling this too. I look at him, he's on his phone texting and he's like not even interested in what this guy's saying. I'm like, oh, you didn't feel that? Like right now, this moment, you didn't feel that? Like, and I'm like, oh, and I just start going, God, wow. And I'm like, I hear you. I get it. And we were taking notes and I just kind of put, I'm in, and I pass it to my husband and he just starts crying. He's like, what just happened? Like, so when we walk out, I'm like, I don't even know if I told you this, that God told me he was going to use this mess and this hurt and this pain. And I'm like, I don't know if you heard the guy up there, but he said that he was going to use this pain. I'm like, God told me that a long time ago. And this guy would have never known that. I'm like, but I felt the Holy Spirit so strong tell me this is where we need to be. I don't know what you're going to do, God. I don't feel worthy. I don't feel like my story matters, but I believe that if I can impact and help anybody that feels like they've gone through the pain that I've gone through, and that there's hope, then I want to be part of that. Like I said, it just feels like God is just like, okay, hold on to the ride. And he has taken us on a ride. And so now we're at 5 years past our marriage and we just launched a church at the beginning of this year. And in May, I got on stage to share my story. And the full circle moments that have come between then and now and continue to happen where you go, okay, God, you're moving. This is, where you want me. This is the path you have for me. And there's that confidence, like to think that where I've come from, just this low, not feeling heard, not feeling all this, to feeling like I'm definitely on the right path and feeling heard and feeling led and listening and all the things. It's amazing. And the joy I feel now, where I never felt like there was hope of joy, a true joy, it's for sure something that I would have never imagined. And that's exactly what I would pray for. It's like, God, I want a life far better and bigger than I could even imagine. And he for sure has me there. And it's scary and beautiful all at the same time. But the growth that I've had from all of this, I'm so thankful for it. I could have never said that I'm thankful to be going through that pain, but If it weren't for that, I would not be where I am today. There's no way I would have enough self-esteem, there's just so many facets of growth that I've gone through that there's no way I would have been prepared to be doing what I am today. And so,
okay, so let's back up for a second. This conference happens, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then is it a year? Is it 2 years?
So yeah, we went on that at that conference. We applied to partner with this network. So a year and a half after we went to that conference, we opened up the church.
Okay. And what's the name of the church?
Your Story Church in Southwest Houston. Like I said, we are on a roller coaster ride of just abundance and blessings that I could have never thought possible.
I love that you said God was going to put you on stage and the name of your church is Your Story Church.
Yeah.
And you're sharing your story with others and allowing other people to do that. It's a beautiful place. We might as well tell our listeners how we know each other.
Yes.
Because I'm a member of your church.
Yes. It's so awesome that we can do that. We met that way. And I remember when you asked my husband, but when you asked me, it was also kind of like, I go back to the moment hearing God, like, okay. And my first instinct is to say, no, I don't want to share my story. And then I'm like, okay, God, you told me you were going to use it. My story. Okay. If somebody's coming to me asking me to share my story, I'm going to do it. Despite my fears, I'm going to be obedient. You know, what God has shown me is that it does impact people and people's stories, they matter, and people need that encouragement to keep going. You know, where some of us are walking through that storm right now, and I want to be part of providing hope that they can find the joy even, you know, after the storm, after our mess. So now I'm just like, hey, God, use it in whatever way you're going to use it. And some people that relate, I think I always thought when God was going to use my story, it was going to be about people who had lost their husband. And the people that have related is really amazing to see. It's like, they'll be like, oh, I lost a child. I lost a parent. I lost whatever loss. Some of them have never even lost anybody, but just the feeling of being stuck where you feel like God's not hearing you.
Or not listening.
Or not listening.
Or being angry with him.
Yeah.
I turned my back on him years and years and years ago. And listening to you and Donnell tell your story has changed my life.
Yeah.
I have learned so much from y'all.
And that I just never believed that. I guess because I had never experienced it. And then, you know, it's kind of also the gratitude I have for going through it is like I can understand somebody going through this pain, and weirdly that I would be thankful for that, having gone through that. But I'm so grateful that now I can look back and say, oh, these things that we go through, if you're not growing and using them to like grow you, then gosh, what a waste. Use it for something. And so for me, I'm like, hey, if the pain that I had to go through can help others, then let's go. I was like, God, use it, because it was hard.
Okay, so let me ask you this. What do you think has surprised you the most about this new chapter, this new season that you're going through?
Really, truly, it's that God would use me. Who am I? Like, I'm not anybody who's got it together, you know.
You're the one your dad wrote skeptic about in his journal, and you're the one that planted the church.
Of all my siblings who I thought, had these great descriptions about them, they were more ready or capable or whatever, and you used me, right? Like, he could use you in your story, but you never think that God could use you in that. And I'm just constantly amazed that God would use little old me, right, in anything, in any part of his plan. So
I remember I randomly asked your husband something after he had done his episode, and I texted him because I wasn't understanding something, and he called me immediately because I had started reading the Bible.
Oh, there you go.
And I started in Genesis. He said, first of all, don't do that.
Yeah.
He's like, secondly, to answer your question, is like, God uses the broken.
Yeah.
That's what he does. And that's how I see, he used you and Donnell to help us.
I don't have anything for him to use. That's what I told Donnell. And he's like, God doesn't use the equipped. He equips the ones he calls. And I'm like, oh. He's like, God's going to get you. Don't worry about it. Like, he's got us. So then I constantly tell myself, hey, he's not using the experts. He's growing me so that he can use me in the ways that he needs to use me. And so my constant prayers now have shifted from what can I get to what can I give to others, and what can I do for others, and how can I pour back to others who may be feeling like they're not being heard, or they're not being seen, or they're not being, or they're not getting the desires of their heart. So
you've had so many great boons, so many blessings that have come out of life-shattering situations. I love your attitude that you can see how this is all clicked together, right? Yeah. Are there any other boons that you want to talk about? Great things that have happened as a result of going through all of this.
I feel like God gave me the best partner to help me grow. I probably wouldn't have ever dated somebody like Donnell. I don't like any attention, and my husband calls for attention, and I don't like the spotlight. My husband thrives in the spotlight. And so in these things that are kind of my weaknesses or not my strengths, I feel like my husband kind of helps me to continue growing. And that's kind of like the thing for a long time. I felt like I was trying to do these things to grow, but on my own. But to find a life partner that constantly helps me be a better person and want to be a better person and is so okay at being raw and open about growing and us not having it together. And so that has helped me grow tremendously. So the icing on top is that he's such a wonderful, amazing example for my son. My son knows that his father's passed away. He's got a heavenly father, but like to have a father here in the house and just to watch that and to watch his example and just how he's come along and loved my son is like, it's something I could have never imagined, you know, the love he has. And then like they just kind of look like each other. So everybody just thinks that he's dad.
Yeah.
And I just love that because it's just, he is dad, you know, and so to have a life mate, a life partner, and like I always said that I did life alone, single parenting. I know I can do it alone, but to have a life team partner that you just like doing life with is just the best thing ever. So
next question for you. How do you hope your story will uplift others?
If my story can at least help people know that you can get to a place, the lows in your life, and be able to look past and see, how can I grow? What will God do with this? And there's going to be joy in the morning. And if I can give anybody that just a glimpse of hope in that, then I think that's totally worth it.
We end all of our guest episodes with an attitude of gratitude.
Okay.
It's your opportunity to lift up the heroes in your life, mentors, supporters, anybody meaningful who has been a meaningful part of your journey, of your monomyth.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. I love that you guys do that. First thing that comes to mind is my mom and sister who I'm so thankful that they were there and the support. In the beginning, they came almost every weekend, 5 hours to come just like help me through it. And so I'm like, I really don't think I could have made it without them. And their love, like unconditional love. And I remember one time my sister saying, if I could take this pain away, and she's like, you don't deserve it, and all the things. Like, she's like, I've been married for a long time. I told God, take mine and not, you know, and so that you could have and all the things that just, I felt the love and support, and that kind of just helped me to keep going. So yeah, they were my rocks in a time that just felt like I was just all over the place. So for sure them, and for sure early on, but they have always been my rock, and all my brothers, of course, or as well, but it's just something different about you can sit down and hug. And I will never forget where I'm just like crying in the days after, and my mom just like holding me, like don't have to say any words. She just kind of like brushing my hair like, you know, when I was a little child. And so I'm eternally grateful for them. And then I will just say there were a lot of friends along the way and times that I saw God in it all. I remember in the beginning, the littlest impact in my life, there were like strangers that would come that were my neighbors. And because they had seen the ambulance, they knew I was going through something, they would come and just leave diapers on the doorstep and formula. And Corey, you saw God's little angels kind of around. And I shared this also, something that, like, you know, when you share your story, sometimes the randomest things pop into your head. But one of the things that I remember also is like when I went back to work, there was these new teachers that had just come to our school. They didn't know me at all. They passed around like an envelope to help out and support. Again, how I saw God use people around. I mean, it doesn't always use your best friends or your family. Sometimes uses strangers and, brand new people that didn't know me. And then in this journey of church planning, there's no way that I would have enough confidence if it weren't for Sending Church, which is Thrive Church. I mean, they are just like rock stars when it comes to like loving on people and supporting us.
You've had some good people in your life.
Yes, God definitely did that. For sure.
I very much appreciate when guests come on and they're vulnerable, and asking you to rehash your story, I know is a traumatic story. We always appreciate people's courage when they come on. So thank you for being brave and not saying no.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I was nervous. I'm like, it's one of those things, I'm not going to think about it. I'm just going to do. Okay, just go. Keep taking the next step. So thank you.
You did great. We appreciate it.
I hope that your podcast continues to bless so many people along the way. It's amazing that you're sharing that and that we connected.
And if any of the listeners want to know, we'll drop all of Your Story Church's information in the show notes.
Oh, thank you. That's awesome. God's not done.
God's not done. Vianey, thank you for sharing your monomyth with us. Your story is a reminder that even in seasons of deep pain, transformation is possible. Through surrender and faith, you've discovered a new chapter filled with love and leadership. We're so grateful for your honesty, your heart, and the wisdom you've given to our listeners. May Vianey's journey encourage you to embrace your own process of healing and trust that hope and purpose can emerge even in the hardest chapters of life. Thanks for joining us on the Monomyth Diaries. If this episode resonates with you or someone you know, we'd love for you to share it and spread the inspiration. Don't forget to follow us wherever you get your podcasts or on YouTube to stay connected. We'd appreciate if you could take a moment and rate and review the podcast. It helps us reach more people with stories of transformation and growth. You can visit us at monomythdiaries.com or text us directly from the show notes to reach out and keep the conversations going. Until next time, heroes, let's journey together through our monomyths.